Sometimes you tell a stranger something you've never told your closest friends. Maybe it happens on a late-night bus ride. Or during a random conversation with someone you just met. And before you realize it, you've shared something deeply personal. Your fears. Your past. Things you normally keep hidden. Then later, you wonder. Why did I say all that? Why does it feel easier to open up to someone who doesn't even know you? Visual, person sitting alone on a bus at night, city lights passing slowly. Most people think this means you're impulsive or emotionally careless. But the real reason is much quieter. And strangely, much more psychological. 2. Problem deep dive. You might recognize the pattern. When you're with people who know you well, you hold back. You filter what you say. You measure your words. But when you're with a stranger, something changes. Your guard lowers. You talk about things that normally stay inside your head. And for a moment, it feels strangely relieving. Like releasing pressure from something that's been building quietly. Visual, abstract image of a glass bottle slowly filling with water. But later, another feeling appears. Embarrassment. You replay the conversation in your head. Why did I tell them that? What if they judged me? What if I shared too much? This emotional swing, relief followed by regret, is incredibly common. And it's not random. It often traces back to something deeper in how your brain learned to manage emotional safety. Because the brain is always asking one silent question in social situations. Is it safe to be seen here? And surprisingly, sometimes strangers feel safer than the people closest to you. 3. Reframe. If this happens to you, it doesn't mean you're bad at boundaries. And it doesn't mean you're socially unaware. In many cases, it means your mind developed a specific survival strategy. A psychological adaptation. Your brain learned that emotional expression carries risk. So it started looking for environments where the risk felt smaller. Strangers can become that environment. Not because they are trustworthy, but because they are temporary. Visual, 2 strangers talking briefly on a train platform. They don't know your history. They won't see your reputation change. They won't be part of your life tomorrow. Which means something important. Their opinion doesn't permanently alter your identity. In psychology, identity is one of the most fragile parts of social life. Your brain works hard to maintain a stable image of who you are inside a group. Friends, family, co-workers. They all hold a version of you in their minds. And changing that version can feel risky. Strangers don't hold that version. So the brain treats them differently. But the real mechanism runs even deeper. 4. Psychological mechanism. Your brain has a system designed to track social risk. Parts of the brain like the amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex monitor situations where rejection or judgment might occur. When those areas detect social danger, they trigger caution. You become quieter. More controlled. More filtered. But there's another system at work. The brain also seeks emotional release. When emotions stay unspoken for too long, they build cognitive pressure, similar to steam inside a sealed container. Visual, kettle slowly releasing steam. Psychologists sometimes compare this to a pressure valve model. Imagine your thoughts and emotions like air inside a balloon. Every unspoken feeling adds more pressure. Eventually, the brain looks for the safest place to release some of it. Here's the surprising part. Strangers often appear low risk in the brain's social map. Your mind quickly calculates something like this. This person doesn't belong to my long-term social world. Which means the cost of being judged feels lower. So the emotional valve opens. You talk. You release. And for a moment, the internal pressure drops. But afterward, another brain system activates. The self-monitoring network, largely involving the prefrontal cortex. This system reviews your behavior and asks, did that harm my identity? That's when regret appears. And suddenly you think, I shouldn't have said that. But there's still one important question left. If this pattern keeps repeating, how do you change it? Not by shutting yourself down. but by understanding what your brain is actually trying to do. 5. Practical framework. The goal isn't to stop sharing. Your brain shares for a reason. The goal is to redirect where and how that release happens. Here are 4 principles that help. 1. Create intentional pressure valves. Your brain releases emotions when internal pressure builds. If you don't give it safe outlets, it will find random ones. Visual notebook with one sentence written slowly. One powerful outlet is externalizing thoughts. Journaling works because it activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for organizing emotion into language. When emotions become structured words, their intensity drops. Example. Instead of telling a stranger about a stressful memory, you write the experience down first. The brain experiences the same emotional release, but without the later regret. 2. Separate expression from audience. Many people assume emotional expression must happen in conversation. But psychologically, expression and audience are 2 different needs. Your brain wants expression. It doesn't necessarily need a listener. Visual, person walking slowly at night under streetlights. Talking out loud while walking, recording voice notes, or reflective writing all activate emotional processing networks. This lowers the urge to overshare in random conversations, because the pressure has already been released. 3. Slow the emotional impulse. Oversharing often happens during moments of rapid emotional activation. Your brain wants relief quickly, so it bypasses your reflective system. A simple technique is a 3-second pause rule. When you feel the urge to reveal something personal, pause briefly. That small delay allows the prefrontal cortex to evaluate. Is this the right context? This pause doesn't suppress emotion. It just restores balance between emotional impulse and conscious choice. 4. Build safer long-term spaces for honesty. The deeper solution isn't silence. It's selective vulnerability. Humans regulate emotions best through trusted social bonds. But trust takes time. Instead of sharing everything quickly, you gradually reveal layers. Visual, sunrise light slowly filling an empty room. Psychologically, this strengthens what researchers call secure attachment communication. You begin experiencing something new. Being honest without losing your sense of safety. And once the brain learns that safe vulnerability is possible, the need to unload emotions onto strangers naturally decreases. 6. Integration. All of this leads to one simple mental model. Your mind isn't trying to embarrass you. It's trying to balance emotional pressure and social safety. Think of your brain like a system managing 2 forces. One force wants expression. The other wants protection. Oversharing with strangers happens when the expression system finds a temporary loophole in the protection system. Visual, slow waves moving across calm water. Once you understand that balance, something changes. You stop judging the behavior, and instead you start guiding it, creating better places for your emotions to go. 7. Quiet empowering close. If you've ever opened up too much to someone you barely knew, it wasn't weakness. It was your mind trying to breathe. Trying to release something that had been held in silence for too long. The real shift isn't becoming more guarded. It's learning where your truth actually belongs. Because your thoughts, your fears, your memories, they deserve expression. But they also deserve the right space. And sometimes the most powerful step is simply giving your mind a safer place to speak. Visual, soft morning light through a window, quiet room. When that happens, the pressure slowly fades. And the need to tell strangers your story becomes a little quieter.